Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and today I am here to give you guys my list for the top 5 episodes of Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 1. But before we do that, you guys, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If this is your first time watching, I like to do a lot of reaction videos to fan-made Star Wars content, whether that's fan films or tribute videos, and I also like to do a lot of discussions on the latest episodes that appear on Disney Plus from both Star Wars and Marvel. So please, I encourage you guys to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps support my channel. I would love to become a full-time YouTuber someday, but I cannot do it without your support. So please subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. I don't know about you guys, but I love Star Wars The Bad Batch, and I cannot wait for Season 2. So I thought, you know what? Let's break down my list of the top 5 episodes from Season 1. Just remember that this is my personal list, so you guys don't have to agree with it, but I ask that you guys respect my opinions as I will respect yours. Alright guys, you ready for this? I'm excited. I haven't done one of these types of videos in a while, so I'm really excited. Without further ado, here we go. At number 5, Rescue on Ryloth. I loved the idea, you guys, of bringing Hera and Chopper into Star Wars The Bad Batch. I loved it as a way for them to sort of transition between what Cham was doing in Clone Wars to sort of the person that he becomes in Star Wars Rebels. I really enjoyed this story, and honestly, Devil's Deal would probably be an honorable mention here on the list. Maybe not necessarily in the top 5, but definitely an honorable mention, because I thought that episode as well was really good. But the reason why I like this episode more and why I have it on my list is because I loved the interactions between Hera and Omega. I also really loved Hauser in this episode and sort of his struggle between his loyalty to Cham and his loyalty to the Empire. And for him to come out in those final few moments of that episode and pretty much tell the clones to stand with him against the Empire was really a powerful moment. And the fact that some of them actually laid down their weapons was actually pretty awesome, and it gives me hope for a future clone rebellion in this show. At number 4, Return to Kamino. This episode really got me invested in Crosshair's character because he was dropping subtle hints throughout the episode about him potentially not having an inhibitor chip, or at least him being aware of the chips and him not having a choice, because in his mind he felt like his brothers abandoned him. And then to get to that final few moments in the episode where he teams up with the Bad Batch and then reveals that he didn't have a chip in his head, but he's still loyal to the Empire, was a very crazy thing, because to him, he felt like this is what he was born to do. This is what he felt like his purpose was. He felt like that his brothers betrayed him, even though in reality it was the other way around, but in Crosshair's mind, that's what happened. And then those final few moments of the episode as well, where you get those shots of like the empty rooms on Kamino, like this is the last time you're gonna see it this way, and then in that final few seconds, Rampart opening fire, bombarding on the city, was such a crazy moment, which sets up a really crazy opening for the start of the next episode. Another small thing that I really enjoyed about this episode was the use of the Bad Batch theme when the Bad Batch were finally reunited, taking on those droids. I feel like the show has been pretty reserved about using that Bad Batch theme. Usually you only see it in the credits, and then I think they played it in that first episode, but to play it here when they're finally reunited again and working as a cohesive unit was a really nice touch. I thought it was super cool. And speaking of the first episode, that is my number 3 on this list, Aftermath. Getting to see that traditional Clone Wars intro with Tom Kane's voice was heartwarming, but then you guys, as the title says, it's the aftermath, and that's the aftermath of the Clone Wars. So you start to see the Bad Batch in the beginning during the Clone Wars still, but then you see what they go through with Order 66, and the fact that they had Caleb Doom, aka Kanan Jarrus, a part of that story, I thought was super cool. I know it's contradictory to the comics that happened, but I think anything that happens on a TV screen or movie should be the canon material. We're also introduced to Omega in this episode, and we learn that she is a clone similar to the Bad Batch, where she has traits as well, which is why they end up going back for her later. But I think what's really cool for me about this episode was Hunter. And the reason why I think Hunter is probably now my second favorite member of the Bad Batch, because Wrecker I feel like will always be my first, but the reason why I like Hunter so much now is because these episodes and this show really brought out the leader in him. When you're watching Clone Wars, don't get me wrong, Hunter was always a badass, but I never really understood like what this guy was about. And I understand now that it's because Hunter is supposed to be a leader, and when you're watching him in Clone Wars, he's not necessarily leading his men. It's more Anakin and Rex that are doing it at that time. But in these episodes, you get to see Hunter take the charge and him make decisions based on what he feels is best for his men, because he's just as confused as everybody else is with this whole Order 66 thing. So he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that his boys, his family, are put in the most safe position they can be in. Which is also why I like the idea of Hunter being a father figure for Omega. Speaking of Hunter making sure his boys are okay, is a perfect transition into my number 2 on this list, War Mantle, because we get to see Hunter make that sacrifice at the end of the episode. But there was more than just that in this episode. This episode also saw the return of Gregor and his amazing laugh. Oh yeah, and frickin' Scorch was in here as well. What the heck? And he took it to Bad Batch as well. I mean, I swear, it took like 20 stun shots just to take him down. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get my point. And of course, Hunter at the end of the episode, realizing that there's no way out for him in this situation, tells his boys to leave. And of course, Omega ends up crying, begging for Hunter to order them to come back, but Hunter refuses. And then Crosshair showing up with his sick theme at the end of the episode was also really cool.
I was hoping for the whole squad, but you'll do.
And finally, at number 1 on my list for the top episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 1 is Battle Scars. First off, we got Captain Rex in this episode, so that already makes it a top episode. So glad that they were able to get the voice actor for Rex back. But also, this episode was pretty much being built up throughout the entire season, because Wrecker kept hurting his head. Throughout almost every episode, we were getting subtle teases that Wrecker was going to turn because of the chip. And eventually, because of this episode, we got that. And it was so heartbreaking, because we all thought, like, okay, of all the Bad Batch members that would turn to Order 66, which would probably be the most dangerous and the most scary? And that would definitely be Wrecker, because you see like this lovable dude just become this monster, and it's like you want to see him fight out of it. And then at the end of the episode, when he's telling Omega, I'm sorry kid, I couldn't control it, I tried, and it's just so like, it just all the feels. Also, the Mattel Mix thing was kind of funny, because when they first introduced that in the episode, I think in my review for that episode I said that they needed to bring that to Galaxy's Edge. Little did I know that Galaxy's Edge already had that. I liked seeing Rex and Echo interact with each other, because, you know, 501st boys gotta stick together. But my only slight criticism is I wish there was a little bit more of it. So maybe if we see Rex again in season 2, we can get a little bit more interaction between the two of them. But it was just a small thing. Apart from that, I really enjoyed this episode. Alright guys, there you have it. That is my list for the top 5 episodes in Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 1. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what your favorite episodes from The Bad Batch Season 1 are, and I will see you guys next time.